Hi guys, I thought I would start with my weekend videos. As I did say in my last video, I am working Monday to Friday now, so I'm going to try and do more weekend content, more vlogs, more book reviews, anything that I think would, go well on the channel. Try and have a bit more of a regular schedule at least, to start myself out. And I thought one of the videos that I've seen going around quite a lot for indie authors, which I became this year, is to talk about your expenses, all the things that you paid for, or all of the, to be open and honest about everything you paid to become an author. So I thought that'd be quite an interesting video to bring on here because I've seen my editor do it on here. She's Kate's Book Date. She's been in like a booktuber and author for years. I think I've been watching her videos, which is how I found her. Her work was brilliant, and she's edited both of my books now. My published book, Still Princess, and which I'll be talking about in this video, and my upcoming novel, The Girl Behind the Glass, which I only currently have the cover for, but I'll try and drop it down below. You can add it to Goodreads. It's called The Girl Behind the Glass by April Grace, and this one is also on Goodreads as well if you want to add it. But yeah, starting out, so I will try to do a separate video on The Girl Behind the Glass, but obviously because that process is still kind of like ongoing, I can't really finish that one so far. But Still Princess, I published my first book this year. It's a young adult futuristic fantasy story. So it's like set in a futuristic kind of setting, in a still city where it's ruled by a gynoid queen or a gynoid queen, basically an android, but a female android, and she's brutal. She believes that humans are beneath her, so she has hunted them down to kill them because they have caused lots of problems. There's rebellion, so it's kind of dystopian in that way a little bit, but it's more of like a fantasy story. Like it is inspired by a lot of the fairy tales that we know and love. And my next book, The Girl Behind the Glass, is also a Snow White retelling, but Still Princess is more its own story, not really inspired by anything in particular, but I suppose it probably does have those sorts of elements of the fairy tales that we have all grown up with, I suppose. But yeah, so I absolutely loved writing this one, and I've loved writing my Snow White retelling, and this whole process of becoming an indie author has taken me well over a year. Like, I published it in July 12th this year, but I started writing it when I was during my A-levels, when I was about 18, so about 10 years ago now, which is insane. Yeah, so I thought I would get into the video, and I have my little notebook here, trusted notebook, from Typo, which is one of my favourite shops, full of info about Still Princess and all of the expenses that I have paid for. Okay, so I say that the first thing that I paid for, I did a lot of bookings and booked in as well, but was buying my ISBNs, or the barcodes that you see on the back of the book. You can buy either one, or you can buy 10 for the price of one, which is pretty cool, I think. Because you will need a lot of these, because you'll probably need one for each, which I didn't realise at the start actually. You'll need one for each edition of your books, your paperback, Kindle. I think Amazon does supply ISBNs for ebooks, but I just put my own ISBNs on all of them because I just thought it was more. I just wanted it to be the ones that I'd bought and used. And I used the website Nelson, which I think probably most people do. Their bulk deal was £164 for 10, so I got those. I don't think I needed to do this, but I thought I did at the time, but I spent £80 or an extra £80 on the barcode images themselves. Again, I realised that I didn't necessarily have to do that, which my cover designer told me afterwards. Then there was the cover design, so I used my lovely cover designer Josephine Blake at Covers and Cupcakes. Look her up because her work is beautiful. and you can probably tell that from my cover. This is the one thing that most people pick up on when they like ask me about my book or talk. When I talk to them about my book, they say that cover's gorgeous, and it is. So my second cover is also just as beautiful, but in its own way. It has a really cool mirror on it as well. But her fantasy stuff, I think she loved doing the fantasy type stuff. So if you've got a fantasy book, go to her, because she probably wants to do more of those. She does like to have creative wiggle room as well, which I found, and she's just become a really good writer friend as well in the process. And then the next thing was editing. With and Her name's Katie Wismer. She's at Kate's Book Date on here. You can probably find her videos. She's got some really cool vlogs. She's an author herself. She's published loads of books, and she has loads of writing advice, writing vlogs, all sorts of stuff on there. Much inspired. Always inspires my book channel stuff. So I spent £650 on editing, developmental editing, for this book. And that was cut across. So like with my cover design, I paid 50% deposit when I booked, and then 50% afterwards. I ended up paying extra couple of things just because the package that I wanted, I didn't end up picking the audiobook at first, and then the hardback cover came after that. So there was things like that added on as well. And the same with the editing. I think I paid 50% up front, then 25% when I gave it to her, and then 25% when she sent it back to me. And I do the same thing with my own editing clients, because I just think it's a good way to do it. Like, it's easier for the person that's paying, because they can split their money across time. So if you're paying for lots of different things, self-publishing and indie publishing is very expensive, as I have found. So it's good, I think, to pay in stages, like with lots of different things going on. Yeah. So the next one was my character design. My character artwork is actually beautiful, and it's from an artist called Athena Bliss. Give me 2 seconds while I try and find it. Because I have character design for each of my characters. So this is Silva. She is my main character. She is the Gynoid princess, who has kind of learns to empathise with humans and her human friends, which is basically what a lot of this book is that you will find. And then I also have one for Eden, who is my other narrator. So I only get character art for my narrators, and I'm yet to find some character design for my second book. But the character design was £120 altogether. Beautiful artwork, and I wasn't even thinking of using it in the book at first, but I had to after. And I will be doing the same thing with the next book. And the next thing was map design by an author called Abigail Hare, but her real name was Abigail Inge. Map design was beautiful. I can just find it. There we go. Beautiful map design. All this images was from my formatter as well, so I'll talk about her in a moment. Yeah. So that was about. I'll talk about my overall expenses in a second. And then the last thing was my formatting review. With my formatter. So basically, with this book, it will be different with The Girl Behind the Glass, but with this one, I decided to format it myself because I'd noticed a few months before that my formatter that I wanted, because she'd done formatting for one of my author friends, she decided that she wasn't going to be doing her business anymore, or that's the way I took it when I watched her stories on Instagram. But it was actually that she just wasn't taking any new clients, but I'd already booked in with her, so I was still technically included in what she thought. So I started just doing it on myself, and then she noticed what I was doing on Instagram, contacted me saying, "Are you still gonna come to me? Do you still need my help?" So then I ended up going for a formatting review so she could have a look at it for a small price. That was £30, and then she basically told me that with respect, like, you need to change a lot about this, what you've done, and I can do it all for you. She cut down the £50 off it because my partner had already given me some images, and I already had the images that I just showed you as well. So she cut that down to £200. So because my partner is an illustrator as well, when I was deciding to format it myself, I got him to do some things. So he designed the cog, but you can't really see, there you go, you can see it in the back behind this. My formatter then added that in. So the cog only really was going to go into the little section breakers, if you know what I mean. So it was just going to be like tiny, but she ended up bringing that in. And then the next thing was my tiara on each of my chapter headings. My partner drew this because he's great at what he does. And then I ended up integrating that in. I just asked him for a cog and a tiara because I knew what I wanted and I thought it would look really pretty, and it did. So it was perfect. And then my formatter ended up adding that in for me as well. So that ended up all coming to £200. So overall, my expenses for Steel Princess were £1,420. It's a lot of money for one book, but very, very worth it when you think of that. All of those expenses are what made this beautiful little book here. So couldn't be happier really with everything I did with this book, and I can't wait to do it for the next one, even though it's currently broken my bank. So I'm going to be publishing this next one a little bit more slowly, but again, I'm all excited. I am excited to carry on with the process, and yeah, I just can't wait to see what happens with the next book this year. And I do have Steel Princess's sequel to be writing this year, so that's my new goal. I do have a writing goals video on here if you want to check it out for 2023. But yeah, that is the main process, and that is what I went through for well over a year for this book. So yeah, I will love to do more videos like this in the future. I will definitely do one for the girl behind the glass once that book is out there and hopefully thriving. And I have some editing to do now, so I will talk to you guys very soon on a future video. Thank you for watching as always. Bye.